Hey everyone, I'm working to hit 1,000 subscribers and I need your help to get there. If you enjoy this content, please hit that subscribe button right now.
Buffalo, Bills Mafia. Let's talk about the position group that might quietly decide this entire season. Not quarterback, not the receiver room, not even the secondary. We're talking about the edge rushers, the outside linebackers, the guys lining up across from opposing tackles trying to get after the quarterback every single Sunday. And this year, this group looks completely different than it has in years past. New faces, a new scheme, a new philosophy, and a real question hanging over the whole thing: can a group without a true superstar finally be the reason Buffalo gets over the championship hump? Let's dig in, because there is a lot to unpack here. First, let's set the stage. Under new defensive coordinator Jim Leonhard, these players aren't just being called defensive ends anymore. They're outside linebackers in a scheme that asks them to do more, move more, and think differently about how they attack the football. And this offseason, the front office made two massive investments to fuel that transformation: a veteran signing in Bradley Chubb, and a first-round rookie in TJ Parker. So buckle up, Bills Mafia, because we're about to break down the excitement, the concerns, and the wide-open questions surrounding this retooled pass rush. Let's start with the excitement, because there's plenty of it. Bradley Chubb just turned 30 years old this past June, and yes, injuries have been a real part of his story. We'll get into that. But when this man is healthy, he is a legitimately productive football player. Across his 5 healthy NFL seasons, Chubb has never produced fewer than 7.5 sacks. Let that sink in. Even last year, playing for a Miami defense that struggled mightily against the pass, Chubb still racked up 8.5 sacks and nearly 50 total pressures. That is impressive production on a bad defense, which should tell you something about what he might be able to do on a good one. Nobody's claiming Chubb is going to turn back into the 5th overall pick that Denver once drafted, but there's real reason to believe he's a functional, disruptive starter who still has gas left in the tank, especially now that he's further removed from his last major injury. And beyond the production, by all accounts, Chubb is an outstanding locker room presence, already mentoring the rookies and pouring into the young talent around him. And speaking of young talent, Buffalo didn't stop at Chubb. They used their very first pick in this year's draft on another outside linebacker, TJ Parker out of Clemson. This kid is genuinely exciting. He's got size, he's got power, he's got real explosiveness off the edge. His 2024 tape at Clemson was outstanding. Production dipped a bit in 2025, but the flashes are undeniable. And here's the best part: he's on a rookie contract, which means if he pops, Buffalo just got a game-changing pass rusher at a fraction of the market price for that kind of production. Better yet, Parker isn't a one-trick player. He's got the versatility to line up wide off the edge in a stand-up role, but he can also kick inside over the guard and tackle, giving Jim Leonhard multiple ways to deploy him. That kind of positional flexibility is exactly what a modern multiple defense craves. But it's not just about the two new additions. Top to bottom, this room has real depth. Is there a superstar? No. There's no Myles Garrett walking through that door, no Max Crosby, nobody at that tier. But depth-wise, this group is stacked with intriguing names. Greg Rousseau, only 26 years old, a well-paid, genuinely good football player who is now stepping into a totally new role in this defense. Mike Dana, added this offseason. A guy who won't wow you as a first-string star but has been a steady, reliable starter on good Kansas City defenses. Michael Holt, who flashed serious star potential in limited action last season before his year was cut short. And Shaq Lawson, now entering a scheme that finally seems built for exactly what he does best. Throw in Javon Solomon working his way up after impressing as a special teams menace, and you've got 6 deep names who all bring something interesting to the table. That's a well-constructed room, even without a marquee headliner. Now let's get into the part that should have Bills Mafia feeling a little uneasy: the reasons for concern. Here's the biggest question mark hanging over this entire group. Can the sum of the parts truly provide enough impact when there's no singular dominant force? Buffalo doesn't have that one bulldozer of a pass rusher who can single-handedly wreck a game plan. Now, to be fair, recent Super Bowl champions haven't always had that guy either. Sometimes it really is about collective disruption rather than one dominant name. But history hasn't been kind to Buffalo on this front. Depth alone hasn't been enough in years past. So the real question becomes, does a new scheme paired with new pieces like Chubb and Parker finally change that equation? Nobody knows for sure yet. And that uncertainty is exactly why this group carries so much intrigue heading into camp. Next concern, Michael Hoecht's return from a torn Achilles. This injury cost him a huge chunk of last season, right in the middle of what was shaping up to be a genuine breakout campaign. The recovery reports have been encouraging. Video from earlier in the offseason compared to more recent footage shows him moving with less hesitation, cutting sharper, running the arc with more fluidity. That's all good news. But here's the brutal truth about Achilles injuries in the NFL. Even with a great rehab, players often aren't fully themselves right away. We've seen it across the league, and we've seen it with Buffalo's own players before. So even though the outlook is positive, there's no guarantee Hoecht is full speed for training camp, let alone week 1. And if he's not, that puts a whole lot more pressure on the next name on our list. T.J. Parker, the rookie, may be walking into a situation where an enormous amount is riding on his shoulders. On one hand, that's exactly what you want. You drafted him to be a difference maker, so why not throw him right into the fire? Sometimes rookies who get overwhelmed early actually come out stronger for it. But when you stack up the uncertainty around Michael Hoecht's health with the very real likelihood that Buffalo needs to carefully manage Bradley Chubb's workload, you start to see just how much could land on a rookie's plate. And Chubb's injury history is not something to brush aside. A torn ankle back in 2019 that cost him 12 games. Ankle troubles in 2020 and 2021 that cost him 11 more. And then another torn ankle in December of 2023 that wiped out his entire 2024 season. Yes, he played nearly 800 snaps healthy last year. But heading into an age 30 season on what's essentially a 2-year window for this contract to pay off, the smart move is almost certainly to dial back his snap count. Maybe instead of an 800-snap workload, Chubb becomes more of a 600-snap player. That's healthier for him long-term, but it also means someone else has to pick up the slack. And if Hoecht isn't fully right that someone is very likely T.J. Parker, it could turn into a stunning Rookie of the Year type breakout. Or it could be a lot to ask of a first-year player. Nobody knows which way it breaks, and that uncertainty is legitimately nerve-wracking. All right, now let's shift into the fun part, the reasons to be genuinely curious about this group heading into the season. First up, Javon Solomon. This is a name Bills Mafia needs to keep an eye on. He was a wildly productive college pass rusher, but his profile doesn't scream elite NFL athlete. He's not the most explosive, doesn't have prototypical length, and hasn't proven to be much of a run defender. But there's something about him. He just knows how to rush the passer. He's slippery, he understands angles, he's got that natural feel for setting up blockers and getting to the quarterback that can't always be taught. And here's what's impressive. Even in a scheme that wasn't really built for his skill set last year, he still earned an active roster spot purely off his special teams value and flashed real juice as a situational pass rusher. Now, in a defense that might actually be tailored to unlock what he does best, how much more can he give you? That's a genuinely fascinating storyline to track through camp. Then there's Greg Rousseau's transition into this new role, and honestly, this might be the single most interesting subplot of the entire group. Rousseau just turned 26. He's a very good football player, an excellent run defender, a solid pressure creator, but he's never been the double-digit sack artist that fans sometimes want him to be. For years, he's played as a traditional, wide-aligned defensive end who almost never kicks inside. Now, under Jim Leonard's scheme, he's shifting into a stand-up, on-the-ball, outside linebacker role with a different attacking angle entirely. And by all accounts from his media availability since the coaching change, Rousseau sounds genuinely energized, even excited, about what he's being asked to do. Could this new alignment unlock a level of playmaking we simply haven't seen from him yet? That's the multi-million-dollar question. The next storyline worth watching closely is how this rotation actually shakes out on game day. It's no secret that Jim Leonard's scheme borrows heavily from principles used in Denver over recent seasons, and Bills players themselves have publicly talked about studying that tape. Denver ran a clean four-man rotation on the edge, with two primary players pushing towards 700 snaps and two rotational pieces landing somewhere in the 400 to 500 snap range. But Buffalo doesn't have a true singular alpha edge rusher the way Denver did. So does this rotation stretch into more of a true five-man committee? That's genuinely unclear right now, and it's one of the most fascinating chess pieces to watch as camp unfolds. Here's another layer to that rotation conversation, and it's a big one: alignment. In Denver, every single edge defender in that rotation lined up on the outside shoulder of the tackle or wider. Not once did any of them play head up or reduced inside. But Buffalo's personnel doesn't necessarily fit that same mold. T.J. Parker, for example, spent a ton of time at Clemson reducing inside over the guard, and if Buffalo wants to get anything out of Mike Dana, tighter, closer to the ball alignments are almost certainly the path to unlocking him. This entire room is built out of powerful, long-armed, heavy-handed players rather than burst and bend speed rushers. And when you don't have elite bend or explosiveness, the smartest way to overcome that is by shortening the path to the quarterback, playing tighter to the ball instead of looping from wide angles. So, even though Denver's blueprint leaned exclusively outside shoulder or wider, there's real hope that Buffalo tweaks that formula and lets some of these bigger-bodied players operate from tighter spots where their physical tools actually play up. And one final piece of this puzzle: managing Bradley Chubb's snap count the right way. Across his 5 healthy seasons, Chubb has ranged anywhere from around 740 snaps on the low end to nearly 840 on the high end. Given his age, given the injury history, there's a strong case that the smartest path forward for Buffalo is easing that number down, maybe into more of a 500 to 600 snap roll. That approach protects Chubb's health across what's realistically a 2-year commitment, while also leaning on the newfound depth in this room to soak up the rest of the workload. It's the kind of long-term thinking that could keep Chubb productive and available deep into the season rather than risking a repeat of his injury history by running him into the ground early. So where does that leave us, Bills Mafia? This edge-rushing group has genuine excitement thanks to the additions of Bradley Chubb and T.J. Parker, paired with real depth from names like Greg Rousseau, Mike Dana, Michael Hocht, Shaq Lawson, and Javon Solomon. It's got real concerns, from Chubb's age and injury history to Hocht's uncertain Achilles recovery to the very real possibility that far too much falls onto a rookie's shoulders far too early. And it's absolutely loaded with curiosity, from how Javon Solomon gets unlocked, to whether Greg Rousseau finally reaches a new offensive ceiling in this scheme, to how Jim Leonard structures this rotation, and whether Buffalo lets its powerful personnel play from tighter alignments instead of copying Denver's exact blueprint. There's no Myles Garrett here. There's no Max Crosby. But there might just be enough disruptive, versatile, deep talent to prove that you don't need one dominant superstar to build a pass rush capable of getting Buffalo over the hump once and for all. Training camp is right around the corner, and every single one of these storylines is about to start playing out in real time. So Bills Mafia, we want to hear from you. Which name on this list are you most excited to watch this training camp? Bradley Chubb finding his groove in a new city? T.J. Parker making an immediate rookie impact? Or Greg Rousseau completely reinventing his game under Jim Leonard? Drop your prediction down in the comments below. And if this breakdown got you fired up for the season ahead, do us a favor, smash that like button, leave a comment with your thoughts, And make sure you're subscribed to the Bills Report so you never miss a single breakdown all off-season long. We'll be right here with you every step of the way as training camp approaches. Let's go, Buffalo.
Hey everyone, I'm working to hit 1,000 subscribers and I need your help to get there. If you enjoy this content, please hit that subscribe button right now.